kind of getting the hang of it by then. This was the beginning of 1969.
Wow, cool stuff.
Yeah.
That was, so what race was that, do you know?
It was probably, I'm not sure if it was a handicap. I don't think it was a main event because there weren't that many. It was probably more like a heat or semi. It was, but I probably would go on to the main event. The top three riders in the semis would go to the main. So we'd end up being, I think, six riders, six riders, I think, in the handicap main event, and then only four riders in the scratch. But you had to work your way there. You had to earn your way, and you had to pass all these guys that were in front of you. So it was always good for the crowd. The people loved it because the guys that were really fast were way in the back. I mean, like Mike Bass or Bill Cody or Sonny, Rick Woods, Larry Shaw. Those guys would be back in the 50-yard line or 60-yard line. So they'd be way behind, when the race started. And then the guys on the 0-yard line or 10-yard line were pretty much squirrels. And you never knew where they were going to go. So it made some for pretty interesting races. And I'm sorry to see they don't have it anymore. But I guess it's a sign of the times. They just don't have any handicap races anymore. I guess the riders didn't want to get hurt, or the good riders didn't want to be taken out by the slower riders. I don't really know the reasoning, but they haven't had it for a while. Well, they made a lot of money in the handicap. I mean, the money was split. Back then, we made more money, or had the potential to make more money than they do now. I mean, we got, it was a guaranteed $2,000 purse against 30% of the gross gate. 30% of the gross gate at Costa Mesa, when they were getting 5,000 and 6,000 people there on a Friday night, was huge. And it was split. You didn't make any more money, I don't believe, to winning the handicap main as you did than the scratch main. I think they were even. I don't remember exactly, but they were pretty close. So it really made sense if you were in a handicap, to work your way through that and into the main, and you can make some good money. I know those guys. I mean, I had a few nights where you get paid that night. You get paid cash on the regular $2,000, and then the following Friday they would figure out what the overage check was. So it's 30% of the gross gate. Whatever the overage was, you get a check for that for the past week plus whatever you want for that week. And there was some nights when those guys would pull down, $1,500 for one night of racing.
You have to take into account that 1970, the dollar was worth like 3 or 4 times as much as it is today. So, I mean, we're talking $1,000 or $1,500 in one night. How much is that worth today, Greg?
Oh yeah, it's huge. I mean, I remember my rent was $150 a month, and I think minimum wage was $3.65. So,
$3.35. I think it was $3.35 back then.
$3.35, yeah. So, yeah, it wasn't much, but we all lived on it, and we all managed to. And gas was like 28 cents a gallon, so we could afford to drive all over the place. I mean, to drive to Ventura and back was it was like 180 miles, and the next night to Costa Mesa, to Bakersfield and back was 240. Irwindale was close by, wasn't too far, but then we'd all party afterwards at the Irwindale Inn. And so when Friday rolled around, Costa Mesa, it was 40, 50 miles, back round trip or whatever. So, but it was a lot of fun, and it was good to be young and good to have all the energy to do all that stuff. And I wouldn't trade it for anything. It was a really good time for everybody, because the growth and the excitement that was at the race was really pretty crazy.
Now, you mentioned that the Costa Mesa, they shared 30% of the gate. That's not the purse. That's just the people that, come in the stadium. How did they divide that money? Did they divide it equally to all the Division I riders, or did they give more money to the winners, or how was that split? Because I have no idea.
Well, I honestly don't remember exactly, but I would think it was proportionate to what it was the regular whatever you won. Like, so if winning the main event was, let's say, the $2,000 guaranteed purse, if winning a main event was 20% of the total of the 2,000 or whatever it might be, then that's how it would be. It would be broken down in the same percentages as so it wasn't like equal. It was still based on, you got more if you won, and so it was all the same. So it was just basically taking that $2,000 and taking the same percentages, but you just have to add all the money together and use it and divide it that way. So there was no discrepancy and back then, every time you rode, because I was a member of the Speedway Racing Association, I was one of the rider representatives. You always got paid something whenever you started, even if it was just to start the race and you didn't transfer to the next, you got $5 or $10, depending on what it was. So you didn't make much money, but you made a little bit of money. So you never went without making anything. If you could just get past this, if you could just start, get to the first turn, then you got paid.